Investigation. Don't hit it right yet. Just on the street. Just take it again.
I have to. This might be 11.
Okay, what's the name again? Kate
Case McCarthy.
McCarthy. Happy Hicks, that was all.
The Hicks Happy Hour.
The Hicks Happy Hour. And Kate McCarthy.
Tonight, we take you back to 1972, not just for bell bottoms and big hair, but into the glittery, fragile world of televised family band and the mom trying to hold it all together.
Mm.
The Hicks Happy Hour is part
Mm-hmm.
musical number, part emotional reckoning.
Yeah,
When dad doesn't show up the taping day, the show must go on.
absolutely.
And it looks like here we have Kate herself.
Yes.
Hello, nice to meet you guys.
Good to meet you, Kate. We are so excited. Thank you so much for taking some time out. We love
Thank you.
You're welcome. We love your show. It kind for me, it reminded me of the Partridge Family kind of thing, but we'll get right into that. So I'm Queen D and this is Clay D, and we have a podcast called A Conversation with Queen D and Clay D, which used to be mine, which was Queen's Court Conversation, but now I've expanded because a lot of men are now introducing and talking with, so we had to change that, and it's time for an upgrade anyway, isn't it? We've been doing that for
Absolutely, for
40
sure.
years. But
Love it.
welcome, welcome. So let's get right into it, Clay.
Absolutely. So we have here Kate McCarthy, the director of the Hicks Happy Hour,
Mm.
which is also written by Michael Kefuyalu. Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Kifialu.
Yeah, you
Woo.
okay. This short blends performance and pressure into a powerful commentary on image, womanhood, and the cost of
Yeah.
keeping it cute. So just get ready for sequence, smiles, and secrets. So this is the Hicks Happy Hour. So you want to take it away, Queen?
Yeah, so what I loved about this film is that first it showed mom. And me being a mom, we wear so many hats. So nothing has changed, even from the 70s, nothing has changed. If anything, it's gotten a little bit more complicated with social media and our kids with phones and everything. But what I loved about it is how she kept the children together and how she did like we all do. We try to cover up the messes, and so we can, especially back in that time, my mother always said, don't air out your dirty laundry. So
Mm.
where did you get the idea to create this? First of all, 1972, when I can see that you're no ways back from that time. So where did that come from?
Well, first of all, that intro was incredible. The sparkling sequin, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. Well, okay, so this was my AFI thesis film, the American Film Institute's our graduate program. And so this was our thesis film. And originally, when I pitched the film, it was just about a mom trying to make divorce fun for her kids.
Mhm.
Like that was the original pitch. It wasn't set in the 70s. It wasn't about a performing family, but it was always about like a family splitting up and this central mom character who like doesn't want her kids to like feel pain or like she wants to put a happy face on everything. So that kind of character was always grounding it. But then, like it's your chance to make your big thesis film, and as a director, there's a lot of pressure. Like Ari Aster went to AFI, and his thesis film is like famous. You're like, this is my one chance to leave my mark. So I thought about like what could make this really feel like me, and I have a lifelong love of 70s variety TV shows. Like
Mhm.
there's just something so fascinating about them to me, like this level of like highly artificial glamour, it's just a simpler time. We would never like earnestly watch stuff like that now. And then I really realized that was actually a great container to like better illuminate these themes. Like, oh, if we're talking about authenticity, well, let's make it a performing family instead of just a family in their living room. So I took sort of the family band of the 70s element. That seems
Yeah.
to be a bigger thing back then than it was today. Actually, I think there are family bands now, but I think it's sort of like a Christian thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then brought in the TV show element as well.
I loved it. And you hit on a good note that we're not going to see variety shows in this
Yeah,
era of streaming
yeah.
and social media. So it
Me
it,
too.
it did kind of feel a little sad. I felt saddened by that as I was watching, thinking we're probably not going to see this again anytime soon.
Oh, it's true. It was a
But
different
that
time.
kind of hit me there on
Hmm.
that. But
Hmm.
just going through all of this with the creative vision, Kate, what was the original inspiration behind the Hicks Happy Hour? Was there a moment or memory that made you go, this needs to be a show?
Well, how do you mean? You mean like the show within the film?
Absolutely, yes. This needs to be a project.
Oh yeah. Well, um, at AFI, we pitch our thesis projects like crazy early. It's only a 2-year program, and we start working on our theses like halfway through the program, like before the end of the first year. So I think that's why originally what I pitched was pretty different than how the film turned out, because I just needed something. I was interested in this like complicated mother character, and but I like family dynamics a lot, and it just felt like okay, like I wanted it to be a little more complicated than just like set in a living room, and I felt like oh, the family band is an interesting metaphor. It's not like that complicated metaphor, but like okay, instead of like problems at home in the home, we've got like a family band with an empty keyboard where dad usually is, and I thought that was a great like visual, quick way to immediately in the first scene tell us like these are these people, here's what they do, here's what's up, like something's missing tonight. Um, and also, film's a visual medium, and so I was like, let's do something like colorful and musical, and that would be a really interesting contrast for the dramatic themes. So I'm just glad I thought of that in time, like the 70s variety show part even.
The actors, were they actual singers and performers? Because it really came off well.
I'm
And,
glad to hear. So the actors actually are lip syncing to the fully finished tracks that you hear in the film, but that's not their voices. And so that's sort of like a bonus victory that we're just like lucky that the voices match the actors, I think, pretty well. Like you might really believe like, oh, that actor that really is her voice and she's lip syncing to herself or whatever. Like no, those every voice you hear is different than the actor, and we had like a process with the kids to teach them to play their instruments, which was really fun, and they worked so hard, and I think they knock it out of the park. But yeah, I mean, it was all smoke and mirrors. No one's really playing their instrument or really singing.
oh, wow. It came off so
It did.
believable.
I
It did.
believed it. So hey.
I gotcha. Thank you.
But just explaining the family dynamics and the narrative tension
Hmm.
within the piece. So there's a deep emotional thread woven
Mm.
through the comedic chaos. How much of the family dysfunction that depicted was drawn from observation versus invention?
Mm. Well, I guess there's some amount of like autobiographical here. Not exactly. Obviously, I'm not, from a 1970s family band, but I have two siblings. Like the setup of the family is like really the setup of my family. My parents got divorced. My mom was sort of like the parent, like the main parent driving things. And the setup of my family was like two older sisters and a youngest brother. Um, but funnily enough, originally the sort of like mischievous sibling, the middle daughter, originally I had sort of based that like personality type on myself and made her the eldest daughter because I'm the eldest of my three siblings and I am a little bit like mischievous leader of us three when we were kids. But casting comes along and like the right person is like the right fit for a slightly different role. So we switched around like ages and personalities, and we made that like mischievous, like combative character now the middle child instead of the eldest. But definitely it was like some mix of like classic three sibling banter and behavior, but also trying to make it feel like how children would be in the 70s when it comes to the kids in particular. Like I was constantly like Googling slang to be like, would they say that? Like, what kind of words would they say? Would they say like, can it, you knit? That's from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and so I knew that was time appropriate. Um, but yeah, it needed to feel like not Disney Channel,
Right.
not present day, but like universally true to how, siblings are and the mother is, but obviously she's in a really panicked situation. It's not your everyday parenting.
Yeah, I love the dynamic of each child and their personalities. And I was looking at the youngest child, who had the loose tooth. What made you have the idea for the loose tooth? Because I thought, how are they going to work that? And then the tooth eventually falls out and how they have to try to cover up. And I thought, why are they covering up a loose, the tooth falling out? You can actually use that on stage to go, oh, isn't it wonderful? He lost a tooth. So tell me about that. What made you come
Yeah,
up with that
that
idea?
was hilarious and
Yeah,
heartbreaking.
it
And
was touching
yeah.
how he was like, Mom, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. So what made you come up with that for the youngest child of the two?
Thank you. Yeah. Well, gosh, I mean, I worked on the script for so long. I'm trying to remember like at what point in the process that the tooth was introduced. I think to be totally real, the tooth might have been an idea from my ex-boyfriend, my boyfriend at the time, who was a screenwriter and was helping me so much with the script. And I think the tooth came about as a suggestion for like or maybe it was my idea. I don't know. I think the tooth came about as um like a motif, like something that we could return to, mounting pressure. Um no, actually, maybe it was my idea. It was like one of the very first things in the script. I don't even remember now, but I think I always liked the idea of like having like set up and payoff. That's like a big thing we talk about at AFI. Like if you set up a loose tooth, eventually there's going to be a payoff, and how are you going to use that payoff emotionally? So I love the idea of like knowing it's a problem, then maybe letting the audience forget about it, and then the problem like happens, but then it's even a bigger problem than we thought. Like the problem isn't that the tooth falls out. The real problem is going to be that that's how we learn that the kids are so like afraid to disappoint their mom.
Yes,
Um,
pressure.
and and I remember we got some feedback from a faculty member in AFI at one point, like is this enough of a turning point? Like them trying to glue the tooth back in, like would that scare her enough to really make her want to leave this world? And he was like, I don't think so. And I really was like, what do you want? What do you want? Like this isn't the kind of film where she's gonna come backstage and the kids are like snorting cocaine and it's like this world has ruined them. Like it's just not that kind of film. So I think like that bodily harm, like they're not gonna be cutting themselves, but to glue a tooth in, I was like, I just have a feeling that little bit will be enough to
Oh,
viscerally make people react. And I have to say, I'm pleased that when I've seen the film with other people in a theater setting, people like I'll hear little like gasps or like, oh no, because it is so visceral to see
yes,
the glue and the tooth
yes,
and that, going into the boy's mouth.
yes.
Yeah.
And hold one minute, question. I just want to add to that tooth thing because 1972 was a time where there was a lot of innocence in children. And how I thought about it also is how kids used to actually put teeth underneath their pillow and believe
Sure.
it was a tooth fairy. And so that's what I loved about how, that whole innocence of the tooth came into play. I thought that was just awesome.
Yeah, and it's not this kid is like not really in an innocent world where they can just be
Yeah.
kids, but throughout the film they're trying to be kids. Or you see that it's like natural that they're okay. Like that's the thing. It's not like throughout the film they're like, "Mom, I need to get out of here." So I think hopefully it's more surprising that when they the whole film they're like playing together and scheming and whatever, and then they use that energy to like make mom happy. And I hope that it works. But also when I was growing up in the 2000s, we still put our teeth under our pillow. I hope kids are still doing that. It's very
Yeah.
like sweet practice.
Hey, that's great. I'm
Thanks,
glad to hear
thanks.
that.
Yes.
That will never die. The promise of like getting
That's
25
real.
cents under your pillow. It's like
Was a good
evergreen.
metaphor, I felt. So I think you carried out that mission
Yeah,
very well there and
yeah.
landed the plane well there. Just as far as the characters are, it felt like each character had like they've lived 1,000 lives. Like, how did you cast the Hicks family band or those involved in the project, and how did the actors and actresses respectively and respectfully bring any surprises to the roles?
Oh, wow, interesting. Well, we worked with an amazing casting director, Lisa Zambetti, and when it came to like the kids,
Mhm.
we just saw so many kids. And with them, it really was about like, okay, we need not only like talented kids, but like they need to be able to pull off both the stage parts where they're like super performing and the backstage natural parts. And so some insight that I thought was interesting there from Lisa was she was like, you don't want to go with some like super green non-actor kid. You kind of want to go with the kid who's a little more seasoned and can do the Disney Channel thing so that they can pull off playing guitar and like looking into the camera, but then you can work with them and bring them down to play the more natural backstage scenes. So we definitely found like three amazing go-getter child actors who are like serious pros and serious like uh purveyors of their craft. Like these three kids are stars, they're going places. And so they really like were able to do both and just wanted to be friends and wanted to create this family in both a childlike and professional way, which was really a big surprise to me to see that they were able to like at one point someone on set overheard the little boy between takes. We were about to reset, and he apparently said to himself, I was holding my chocolate bar in the other hand. Like he's like doing continuity on himself because they are little pros, they're hitting their marks. But then also at lunch, they're like, pulling a prank on our producer and like making him a disgusting sandwich to eat, using the crafty stuff. So that was a big surprise, like that child actors can contain those multitudes. That was beautiful. Um, what else? I think the biggest surprise was just how game people were. Like, I always wonder with actors, like, are they hating this? Are they hating doing multiple takes, rather? And everyone was just super game. And honestly, I think a big part of that was like, we spent like a good chunk of time doing fittings with each actor. And so they got to try on all these like beautiful 70s, like costume house costumes.
Yeah.
And I really think that like bumps up the excitement when there's like fun period pieces involved. Like everyone really felt like I'm there, I'm at the TV show. So that was amazing.
I love, oh, sorry, Cliff, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I mean, was it important to you that each family member had a performance identity as well as a private breakdown?
Yeah,
And how did you direct those transitions?
yeah, I was gonna say,
Mm. Sorry, if each family member had a performance identity, and what was the other part?
Yeah, as well as a private breakdown.
yeah, because like I would like to piggyback off, I love the character, the mother, Jill. I love
Yes,
how she had so many emotions. So I was actually feeling all of her emotions. Like when she
great.
went from being fear, being like worried, stress, anxiety, and then also just also worried about her husband, the relationship, what's going on? Is he having an affair? What's going on? So she had so many emotions that women pick up on. It's like intuition, so to speak, and she's like trying to hold it together. So I thought that was powerful. She did a wonderful job of that, you know.
Yes, Phoebe
And
Coolman.
yeah, and even when she was talking to the guy who's fitted, replaced her husband just to fill in,
Hmm.
she looked at him almost as if, thank you for the safe space. And she gave him that kiss. I thought that was wonderful.
I'm glad to hear. Yeah, I think for Phoebe, um, I really tried to do like a less is more thing. Like you can't say to an actor like, "Can you just like real quick like encapsulate all the emotions a mother naturally intuits?" So
Yeah.
I think it was a real joy to like once we got the footage all ready to be looked at, like it was so great to see that like her face contained so many micro expressions and there was always like at least one take like that was perfect. You know, like she especially I love the scene where she's looking in the mirror, and it's really the first time in the film where we get to fully frontal see her face. And I just think she has, first of all, such an engaging face,
Yes.
and I think she's really in it, which is amazing. And I think she probably is the character that most we're playing with this on stage, off stage thing, because the kids are kind of like playing natural versions of themselves on stage. Like they're not like so different from being like little Muppets singing than off stage, but the film is really about like Jill like
Yes.
having these somber moments off stage and then going on stage and covering everything and being able to go on with the show, which she learns is not a way to live. And even Gene, our sort of like Glenn Campbell cowboy character, he is meant to represent like someone who is a little more authentic and has managed to keep a soul and an authenticity in this business. So she really is where the film like gets most into this like on stage, off stage. Like I'm like having two lives basically, and they're both running out of control.
Oh, absolutely. You can feel her energy. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's all about energy, and that was perfect the way you described about how you directed those transitions. Now, just to go more into the production chaos, I like to say that it was more creative fuel, but the entire show itself, the show within the show, it feels like it's teetering on the edge of collapse. But that's also the magic of it.
Hmm.
How did you choreograph that kind of controlled chaos so effectively well?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, our most difficult day was, or set of scenes, what was the hallway, like that backstage hallway where everyone's like running around,
And
very limited space.
mhm.
Um, and it was really like a lesson for me in working with background actors. And like you have to see the whole picture and really be like, okay, you go, and now you go, and you go. And we definitely like we were working fast, and so there was definitely a certain amount of just like tossing a bunch of like jackets at everyone or like one costume piece. We couldn't afford to fully dress each background actor. So we like give everyone like an accent piece, and we gave everyone like a funky prop. Like if you really are watching carefully in like the backstage chaos scenes, like everyone's just holding some weird prop, which I really love because to me that's like, oh, they're bringing it to the stage because these variety shows are so insane and they have so many set. I like the idea of suggesting set pieces and scenes that we're not even seeing. We're just seeing the props that are going on stage, you know, like we had like a butterfly net and, you know, we're moving in and out like giant like flowers. And um, so that was a huge learning experience. And I really like this is also one of the things that as a director you look at and you're like, oh, I could have done that better. Like all I see is like the empty spaces where I wish I had put one more person, you know? Um, but then also like, you know, like the biggest point of chaos in the movie is like, you know, Jill has these two lives on stage and off stage. They're getting out of control, and the real point when they kind it all breaks and they collide is when the tooth comes out and we snap into, you know,
Yes.
the whole film we've been back and forth 4:3, like the boxy aspect ratio TV style, and then the like cinematic longer aspect ratio back and forth. And then when the tooth falls out on stage, we like snap into we're on stage, but we're seeing it in that like handheld
Mhm.
anamorphic thing. And then they come off stage, the worlds have collided, everything's like you run amok for Jill, and the kids are they come backstage and they're like running down the hallway together. And the way that chaos I think most comes through there is a complete credit to the kids. They were improvising lines that made
Oh,
it feel chaotic. They're saying like, I can't believe it, on live TV of all places, like hasn't mom had enough tonight? Like they seriously elevate the film so much with their improv. They weren't just like wooden kids who could only say what they had memorized. Like they were living it so that they naturally like gave us that chaos.
that was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, with puppets, offstage drama, blood, broken contracts, were you channeling TV disaster legends like SNL, the world famous Carol Burnett show, or something more
Yeah.
subversive?
Mhm.
Well, it's funny that SNL movie, the Saturday Night by Jason Reitman. Did you guys see that?
Mhm.
That came out like this October or September, and I remember being like, "Wow, this is either like really good timing or really bad timing." Like either it's like, "Oh shoot, like that the thing we made like it's being done on like a big budget level with stars," or is it a good thing because it indicates like there's an interest right now in, oh, if you liked Saturday Night, you should check out my thesis film. And I gotta get it in the hands of Jason Reitman. I think he would like to see it. So definitely like that vibe of like chaos. But the funny thing about that film, Saturday Night, is that it's about like the punk rock beginnings of SNL. But there's a section in that film where they go like down a floor to a different studio, and it's like a variety show set. And that section of the film represents like, oh my God, look at this lame stuff.
Yeah.
And it's very, I was watching, I was like, that's my whole movie. My whole movie is set in this lame world, but I am making a tribute to like this strange world that I love. But also the film ends with the family leaving that world in the pursuit of a more authentic life. So you can sort of take that as you will, but certainly SNL or I was an intern at SNL for a while, and like that hallway TV broadcast feeling is so real. And when we were scouting for locations, I was like having a hard time finding enough photos or like explanation to my team of like it's a hallway. It almost looks like a hospital hallway, but it's a broadcast TV hallway. Like I so wanted to capture that feeling.
Well, you certainly
I
did.
did.
Art imitates life.
Now, as far as just the audience and the legacy aspect of it, there's a reoccurring line. It's stay smiling. And that feels like both a
Yes.
performance mantra as
Yes.
well as a survival strategy. What message did or do you hope audiences take from that essentially?
Because it could be positive or negative if you think about it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's true. I think what we were trying to do with the reoccurrence of Stars Stay Smiling, when you first hear it, it's sort of like encouraging. Jill is like telling her kids, like, we can do this, we can get through this. I think the keen audience member, as soon as they hear someone saying to a group of kids, Star Stay Smiling, immediately some people are gonna be like, well, I can see where this is going. Like, that's obviously no way to raise a child, right? But in the context of the film, at first, it's like, that's the family motto. We got this. We're gonna keep going, keep smiling, like, as in keep performing, like, keep doing what we do. And then, like, later in the film, by the time dad comes, he says it to the kids once he's showed up. And Jill hears it with like sort of new ears and is able to realize like that is not how I want to raise my kids, and it's not really working for me either. Um, so that was meant to be like the family motto, and then the family motto like gone bad, like seeing it for um sort of the flaws of that as like a way to raise a family. But it's, it's on our poster, like our film poster, it says Stars Stay Smiling, and it's sort of, I think, like a little bit of a like almost what's the word I'm looking for? Not oppressive, omniscient. Like it's sort of like a little bit of an ironic usage of it, like Stars Stay Smiling, but you can tell we're going to show you that that's not really like earnestly a good way to live your life.
Yeah, that's interesting because in the beginning it sounds as if you're motivating and inspiring and you're bringing joy. And towards the end, it becomes this is oppression. This is making me stressed. I'm not able to express myself. I'm feeling horrible. So it's got two
Yeah.
messages in it. That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that it like works, that it goes on its own journey because it's sort of like there's this thing that people said about Frank Sinatra, like he never sang the same line the same way twice. Like he would repeat, verses in songs, but the second time he sang it, he'd put a new spin on it. He might put in a new word or a phrase or like a new tonal quality. And I love the idea of like one phrase that's repeated, but it takes on new meaning every time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
the show lands the plane with this tension between collapse and resurrection. Is there a message, Miss Kate, in that finale for artists trying to keep the show going? I mean, they can be their own project piece, they
Mm,
can be
yeah.
It could be their own lives, even,
Hmm.
literally or metaphorically, even.
Yeah, good question.
You mean like the final sequence or like the final image of the film or like just the
Yeah,
end?
absolutely. Both, actually, either or both.
Yeah, so I loved the idea early on. We thought of this idea of like the empty stage, like because the stage set is sort of like a home set. There's like an outline of a house and all the instruments are there, like sort of lights on, but nobody's home. Like the family have left the fake home and gone off to make like a real life.
Yeah.
At least Jill and her kids. Like she takes the kids and enough has changed on this night that she just can't do it anymore. But like a major screenwriting thing we were trying to implement is like that choice has to be hard. Like a character is going to sacrifice, but it needs to be like they're really giving something up and it needs to be really a hard choice to make.
Mhm.
So it couldn't just be that like the show goes terribly and the studio exec George says like you're done and then they go sit on the curb. It needed to be like they lose everything. The show's over and then dad comes back and it's like she's being handed on a silver plate everything she wanted. Like the show can keep going. The family image is saved because he's here. He's here. You can have another season. You can keep doing this forever. But now enough has changed that she's looking at what she once wanted and doesn't want it anymore and has her change is so true that she's willing to give up what she once wanted, which like leaves this hopefully cool image of like this strange image of like this set with no one on it.
Mhm.
And then the final image is like kind of a direct contrast to the first image of the film, like of the family perfectly set on stage with dad missing. Now dad is missing, but it's more like a single mom and her kids, like what's next? And I hope that it is like a complicated image where it's like sort of sweet and they're, eating ice cream and they're in their bright costumes, but they're sitting on a curb and it's sort of like daylight and it's like, what now? But at least we're together.
Yeah, I was thinking that when you were talking about that, how in the beginning she's encouraging the children, and at the end, the children are encouraging her.
Oh, yeah, so true. Interesting.
Because they start saying, "Okay, mom's gonna be all right. We can work this out." They realize that she needs someone to love her, to encourage her the way she gave it to them.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that sort of like shakes her. Like she doesn't want her kids to be so desperate to like please her and like check in on her. But it's also like a truth that like,
Mhm.
you know, children look out for their parents like their parents look out for them.
Yeah, awesome.
Now, as far as the festival buzz and next steps, with Tribeca, and congrats again on Tribeca,
Oh,
with
congrats.
Thank
Tribeca,
you.
and a student BAFTA nod, you've got serious momentum going for
Oh,
you. Is there any
yeah.
talk of developing the Hicks Happy Hour into a series or feature?
It would be wonderful to be a series, wouldn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean, we just actually won like a student Emmy. That's like the informal title. Like we won the College Television Awards for comedy because we submitted this film like sort of as like a pilot because it does have a real like TV
Yes.
feeling. But right now we don't have any plans to make this into something bigger. Obviously, if we meet someone at Tribeca or elsewhere that wants to give us like a bazillion dollars, then we'll do whatever you want. But I think the big thing is our team, our AFI team, the core, like six of us, we will, no matter what, we will keep working together. But I think we all are sort of like hoping to take this momentum and work on new projects with it. But never say never. Maybe we'll pick back up with the Hicks family in a little bit.
Yeah.
If you could dreamcast a future version of this, whether it be Netflix, Hulu, Prime special, Broadway crossover, what would that look like
Yeah.
to you? And who would you
Whoa.
play Papa Hicks in this multiverse?
That's crazy. That's such a fun question. Well, now see, it's tricky because I'm so attached to our cast. I love them so
Right.
much that
Mhm.
I can't imagine like three better child actors, like truly. But I remember actually there was a point early on when I was trying to get Mary Holland to be Jill. If you're familiar with Mary Holland, she's like a amazing, like started at UCB, I think, like comedic actress, and she's definitely like blown up. And she has that like quality of like kind of manic hope, but also like a real vulnerability. So we tried to get her. We couldn't get her, but then we got Phoebe, and I like am so attached to Phoebe now, and I think she knocks out of the park. And I can't imagine Mary Holland. I can only see Phoebe, you know. But I guess it would be fun to think about like some older like iconic actor, male actor to play like the studio exec role. Like words are failing me. I don't know. Let's get Robert De Niro, you know. Let's get, you know, someone to play that like studio exec guy.
Now, as far as personal insights and reflection goes, you've been called a hybrid of, and correct me if I'm wrong for any inaccuracies, a hybrid of Todd Solondz and Wes Anderson. How do you feel about those comparisons, if any, and who do you see as your artistic North Stars?
Whoa, you did your research. You found that
Now,
quote on my website from Vulture. Yeah, I mean that's from my that's like about my first short film, which like that was exactly what I was going for. Like maybe actually less Wes Anderson, but like Todd Solondz. That's not really an element you feel in the Hicks Happy Hour, but I do love Todd Solondz. Um I love Todd Solondz. I love Miranda July is huge for me. Um, I loved Annie Baker's recent film, Janet Planet. I think like right now my North Stars are like a little less like this film is like sort of like Paul Thomas Anderson, like Licorice Pizza. Like I think the next thing I make, I would like to go a little bit more like small, strange reality. Like this film is a little more of like a broad musical, and I think next I'd like to go more in like a Todd Solondz direction, like sort of like dark, strange, odd corners of people's lives. We'll see.
Hmm, interesting.
and the show feels so personal. I mean, what did you learn about your own voice as a director by making it?
Oh, wow, great question. Um, I learned I think I really just like learned what I was capable of. We worked on this film for a long time. It's a massive film, and I think I just like learned that I have more energy than I thought, or I could work harder than I thought possible. Like I just had my hands so deeply in every element of the film, and there were a lot of elements between music and casting, you know, young to older, these costumes, you know, the set design, the fact that I was like the thought leader on like the 70s variety show of it all and making sure my team was in alignment on like what we were going for. I think I just like really stepped my game up. Like this was the biggest production I'd ever worked on, the biggest budget, the you know most consecutive days I'd ever shot. So it was just like a major breaking the seal on like next level. So like now it's like, okay, am I ready for a feature? Could I direct like an episode of television? And I hope that I can, but I definitely learned I was like, you know, ready to step up to a next level, and hopefully that means there's another level I can step up to.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to ask you, what would you say to people who are interested in getting in the biz, and what are some of the steps that would help them to get to your level?
Oh man, well, I mean, my level is just that I graduated from film school, but before I went to AFI, which AFI was amazing for me, I think if you're like talented and nice to people and lucky about the peer group that you find, like you will have a great time at AFI, and they really like give you resources, and you get a lot of reps under your belt, like you get to make a bunch of films. But before that, I got into AFI with my first short film that I made. And I made that film because no one was going to stop me from making it. And I wasn't waiting for anyone to help me make it. So I guess my advice to anyone would be I just heard Kevin Smith say this at like a panel the other day, like no one's coming to save you. Like you really need to I'm sure that's how it started with you guys in this podcast. Like you need to be like, I have this idea. I'm just going to start chipping away at it and find the people that want to help make it happen. But I'm not waiting for any kind of permission.
Okay,
Absolutely. I
perfect.
love that.
That's a
Perfect.
perfect way to land this plane into this interview here. So
Yes.
thank you very much, Miss
Thank you
Kate
so
McCarthy.
much.
You're a gem, and
You
we
are.
hope for wish
We
for
love
much
that
success,
show.
and we would love to stay in touch and support all of your future endeavors.
Yeah. Are you going to be there in New York next weekend?
I will be. I'm going to be there for the whole festival, so hope to run into you guys. But thank you so much. These questions were like so rich, and you really did your homework, and this was such a ball. It means so much. Thank you.
You're welcome. We appreciate you.
All
And
right, and well, we're gonna
Appreciate
let
you.
you go, give you a minute back in your day, and best of luck to you, and just keep reaching for the stars.
all right.
Thank you guys. You too. Bye.
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 And that was such a wonderful interview, wasn't it?
It was
Yeah, the conversation again, that is Kate O'Connell, right?
McCarthy,
McCarthy.
Kate McCarthy.
Kate McCarthy, excuse me of that. Oh, getting these names all, when you do a lot of interviews. But thank God for you, Clay.
Indeed.
Kate McCarthy. Yeah. And what was that? Happy Hicks?
The Hicks Happy Hour
The Hicks Happy
featured
Hour.
and screened at Tribeca this season.
Yes, and we would advise you to actually look at this show. It had so many layers of emotions.
It did.
Even if it was not in 1972,
Mm-hmm.
this
A lot of
would fit
relevance.
even today
Indeed.
when it comes